If you're still finishing up your Amidah, please continue, and we'll join together for Oseh Shalom, and then move on to the El Malei Rachamim for the Chayalim, the soldiers. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. So I'll now recite the El Malei Rachamim for the lives of Israeli soldiers who have been lost in Israel's many conflicts. Do we have page numbers for folks who might want to look at the text, or shall I go for it?
Just go for it.
Okay. El Malei Rachamim shochen b'meroim, hametzeh menucha nechona al kanfei hashchina, b'ma'alot kedoshim tehorim v'gimorim, kezohar arakia mazhirim, lenishmot hakedoshim shenilchamu v'chol me'archot Yisrael, במחתרת ובצבא ההגנה לישראל, ושנפלו במלחמתם ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם, העם והארץ, בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. אדוני הוא נחלתם, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם, ותעמוד לכל ישראל זכותם, ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימין, ונאמר אמן.
Amen. A prayer in times of corona. God of the spirit of all living things, clouds of doubt are spread over us as the fear of death falls upon us. Ruler of the universe, thwart the plague threatening your world and do not permit such a destroyer to smite us as it comes to our homes. Remove from us all distress and fear, all worry and grief, and shelter us under the shadow of your wings. Pour out your mercy on those stricken and afflicted, and strengthen and encourage the spirit of the men and women who are servants of the public health, the first responders and security forces, and all who toil for the public good, both within Israel and beyond her borders. And you, the God of goodness, who sustains the entire world with beneficence, grant blessing to the work of our hands, so that we are able to support all who are in our households. With ease and without travail, let us not ever know hunger. And so may it be your will that through and upon us is fulfilled the verses of Psalms. God will preserve you from evil and will protect your being. God will guard your going and your coming from now and forevermore. May we all become a single unified society, doing your will with a full heart. Lay us down to rest, Adonai, our God, in peace. And our sovereign, awaken us again to life. Protect our going and our coming with life and in peace from now and forevermore. Amen. Aleinu is on page 196 in Sim Shalom, 135 in Slim Shalom. Oh, Benjamin, you need to unmute. Benjamin, you need to unmute.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אחד ושמו אחד.
We're about to recite Mourner's Kaddish. I'm going to invite anyone who is so moved to join in reciting it, whether you're saying Kaddish or not, to please rise, remain muted, and Benjamin will lead and I will provide the response, congregational response.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דיברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחי יכון וביום יכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Ul'olmei Almaya.
יהיה שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו.
Barichu.
לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהיה שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
I want to invite everybody at this time to please rise if you're able.
Today, Wednesday, is the 3rd of Iyar in the Hebrew calendar, Yom HaZikaron, Israel Memorial Day. It's a somber and serious day of remembrance. As you just experienced, a siren blares for 2 minutes and everyone in Israel stops what they are doing and stands at attention, giving honor to all those who lost their lives in defense of the country. Throughout the day, sad music plays on the radio, the names of the fallen are spoken, and families go to Har Herzl and other cemeteries to visit and recall their fallen family members and friends.
In just a few minutes, the sun will have set, the stars will come out, and it will become the 4th day of Iyar. This year, the day that we celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel Independence Day. It's a joyous, boisterous day. Almost immediately, crowds throng the thoroughfares and streets with toy hammers and cans of foam spray, dancing and eating and drinking. Many watch the great ceremony televised from Har Herzl, where torches are lit by honorees, and almost everyone parties with food, drink, and song, and the traditional Israeli barbecue, or mangal, the next day.
It's quite a transition, going from that somber and thoughtful mood on Yom HaZikaron to the happy and jubilant mood on Yom HaAtzmaut. You would think such an immediate change would result in emotional whiplash.
But it's a change that is baked into Israeli society. In fact, transitions such as this are incorporated into many of our rituals. We transition from the peace of Shabbat to the bustle of the work week with Havdalah, and we ensure a gradual transition from intense mourning to a resumption of a more normal routine with our rituals, with Shiva, Shloshim, and a year of Avalut.
Sometimes transitions are abrupt, such as moving from Yom HaZikaron to Yom HaAtzmaut. Others are gradual and lead to transformation. Our sabbatical year in Israel was like that. By the end of that year, it was no longer clear to us where home was.
And it soon became clear to us that home was in Israel, and so we made Aliyah.
Our klita, or transition to becoming Israeli, was filled with challenges.
Learning to speak Hebrew fluently being one of them.
Among many others. Especially the transition to becoming parents of chayalim, or Israeli soldiers.
When we made Aliyah, we knew that it meant that our 3 children would serve in the army. I think that by the time the day came, we were ready.
attending the ceremony when they completed their Teranut, or basic training, and seeing them for the first time in their Navy dress whites made us enormously proud.
Absolutely. And how about when we visited their base in Haifa on Navy Day?
And gave us and their grandfather a tour of their missile boats. I rarely worried about them or lost sleep when they were serving, though Reuven once told me, "That's only because you don't know what we're doing, Mom." Only once during the Second Lebanon War was I fearful. An Israeli ship was struck by a missile off the coast of Lebanon, and we didn't know what ship it was. The next morning, while I was leading the prayer for Chayalim in our Beit Knesset, an honor traditionally reserved for mothers of serving soldiers, I broke down. The congregation joined in to help me finish the prayer.
To this day, we remain very proud that they served and thankful that they were safe. But better, you should hear from them how they viewed their own military service and what lessons they learned about transitions.
Hi, my name is Reuven Herman, and I'm the first son of Diane and Larry Herman, who I'm sure many of you know. I want to talk to you about my experience serving in Tzahal, in the IDF. I was just about 12 when my family made Aliyah, and at the time very much opposed to moving to Israel and particularly serving in the military. But 6 years later, by the time I went in, I had changed my mind and was quite enthusiastic about joining and becoming a combat soldier. I joined the Navy, specifically the missile boat flotilla, and spent 3 years as an electronic warfare operator. It was largely a positive experience. I had the distinction of being in the military when the Second Intifada broke out in 2000, and we quickly went from sort of a standard period of routine action to different things happening on a weekly basis, including quite a few combat missions. Among other things, my ship took part in capturing the Santorini boat that was attempting to smuggle weapons from Lebanon into Gaza. And that was quite a highlight of my career. While my own service was did not involve any particularly dangerous moments, I was friends with some people who unfortunately lost their lives in the course of their service. My friend Rani was in Shaitet 13, the Naval Commando unit, and he was killed in action in 2002. And so, along with the privilege of having served, I carry the memory of those who served with me. I still keep my missile boat pin close to me. I'm very proud of it, including the black background as opposed to the traditional blue, in honor of having captured that ship. And it is a part of who I am and what I became as an adult.
Shalom and Chag Atzmaut Sameach. My name is Aaron Herman, and I am Larry and Diane Herman's son. I grew up in Israel and served in the Israeli Navy for 3 years. Serving in the Israeli military is a rite of passage in Israeli society. It is an obligation that I and my peers accepted as a matter of fact, and I'm proud to have served Israel. Going from high school straight into basic training was an abrupt but not an unexpected transition. Like almost every other person I knew entering the Army, I had plenty of opportunity for mental and physical preparation in the years leading up to my service. I also benefited from having an older brother who also served in the Israeli Navy a few years before me. One could say I had the insider scoop. Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut take on special meaning in Israel, where almost every member of society has sacrificed to protect and maintain Israel as a home for all Jews. 4 weeks ago, my wife gave birth to our first child, Amelia Rose. While different in many respects, there are some similarities between early stages of fatherhood and entering the military. In a moment, life is completely changed. There are new responsibilities, and the stakes are higher than ever. And waking up in the middle of the night for diaper changes or to assist with feedings is not unlike getting the 2 to 4 a.m. guard duty shift. You hate to do it, but you know it's your job, so you do it without complaint. This too is a rite of passage, this time into parenthood. I look forward to telling Millie about my time in the military and sharing with her the importance of service to one's society. Chag Sameach. Shalom and Chag Atzmaut Sameach.
And we're transitioning now to becoming grandparents. Zadie,
And Savta,
each to their own.
this is a glorious transition.
In truth, we are all in the midst of a huge transition. More than a year ago, the pandemic forced us into a series of rather abrupt changes. Social distancing, wearing masks, isolating and even quarantining in our homes, learning in Zoom school and going to Zoom shul.
It's been a difficult year, even for those of us who have been healthy.
And now we're set to undergo another transition as we tentatively resume some of what used to be our normal lives,
But we don't even know what that will be like.
or how long it will take. But perhaps thinking about how our traditions help us to transition, we can be ready for and even embrace the change.
It won't be as abrupt as the change from Yom HaZikaron to Yom HaAtzmaut.
No, it won't be that fast, but let's hope that it brings us to a joyous and happy time, just as this moment does. Chag HaAtzmaut Sameach.
Chag Atzmaut Sameach. May all your transitions be easy and happy ones.
Thank you so much to everyone in the Herman family, really many of you who have helped this transition for us. So now we're holding the space in between these moments where we have still one piece of ourselves holding on to the somber remembrance of Yom HaZikaron, and also one piece of ourselves equally already eager to get us towards Yom HaAtzmaut. So I'm going to ask us in this moment in between to hold a brief moment of space for that ambiguity, for the tension, the complexity of precisely being in the middle of those moments. So I'm going to ask us just to take a few moments of contemplative silence in between, the siren of Yom HaZikaron and the approaching dance party of Yom HaAtzmaut, of just a moment to hear the silence in the middle, and to think as we sit and breathe. In a moment, I'll play a chime to start the time, to think where in your body you might feel and hold on to grief or loss, and where in your body you might feel and hold on to joy. Because it's a complex thing to ask ourselves right now to make that transition. So to bring some awareness to internally what that feels like, where we might feel, again, where you feel in your body grief and where you feel in your body the joy that's about to come. So I'll play a brief chime to start. We'll have a moment to reflect silently, and then I'll play a chime at the end to bring us back together. a few more breaths in this middle unknown space before we jump in to the joy ahead. So if anybody would like to, as we go forward, if you'd like to pop into the chat, I'll just send them again. You know, where in your body do you feel? I'll type it in a moment. Where have you felt grief and where have you felt joy? And I'll now pass it over to Josh, and you can feel free to type it in the chat whenever you'd like.
Thank you, Rachel, for the meditation, and thank you to the Hermans for everything that you shared with us, and for grounding us in the power of transition as Jews. Like you said, we mark transition, and as Rachel spoke to, sometimes we're tasked with carrying multiple emotions at once. I wanted to share a midrash together. I'm gonna load it now, so hopefully you can see it. Okay. And you may have come across this one. I know that it's a Rabbi Kligfeld favorite, but I think it really encapsulates a lot of what we're experiencing with this Maravar ceremony as we transition from the sorrow of Yom HaZikaron and to the joy of Yom HaAtzmaut. For the sake of time, I'll go ahead and read in English, but feel free to follow along or to read the Hebrew, whichever is your preference. The sages taught, on the day that Adam, the first man, was created, when the sun set upon him, he said, "Woe is me, because I have sinned. The world is becoming dark around me, and the world will return to the primordial state of chaos and disorder, to tohu vavohu." So I'll pause there just to say that this is the first sunset ever. This is the day that Adam was created, and the sun is going down, and he's terrified. He doesn't know what's happening. So he says, "And this is the death that was sentenced upon me from heaven," referring to dust you are and to dust you will return. So he's afraid that he's dying here. He spent all night fasting and crying, and Eve was crying opposite him. Once dawn broke, he said, "Evidently the sun sets and night arrives, and this is the order of the world. Minhago shel olam. This is the way of the world." He arose and sacrificed a bull, whose horns preceded his hoofs, in the order that they were created, as it is stated in Psalms, "And it shall please the Lord better than a bullock that has horns and hoofs." A little bit of context there. What's being referred to in Psalms here is that God will take more pleasure in prayer than in sacrifice. And what the rabbis are doing here is they have a question as to why it says a bull that has horns and hoofs. They're saying that it must be a bull that was born with whose horns were formed before its hoofs, which is opposite. It's antithetical to the way that bulls are usually created. I'm not sure, how the rabbis figured that out or proved that, but in their world, that is the case, and perhaps it certainly is. But they're trying to make sense of how there could be a bull that has its horns developed first and then its hoofs. And the way they do that is by saying there was only one ever. It's kind of like a mystical creature. And this is the bull that Adam sacrificed when he realized that the sun would rise on a new day and life would continue. So I just want to open up the floor. I know there are many of us here, but please feel free to unmute yourself and participate. What are some initial reactions to this text? I only, for the sake of time, we've allotted about 3 more minutes, so we're not going to linger on it too long. But I'll just say that why this strikes me and why I'm bringing it right now is that I think it sort of encapsulates what our experience has been, where like Adam, we've experienced the sadness and the pain and the fear that Yom HaZikaron elicits, this darkness. And when we transition over to Yom HaAtzmaut, we see that the sun rises on a new day and there's hope and there's joy. And in the end, his response to that is to sacrifice a bull. And obviously that's not how we moderns would react to that feeling, but in a way it is, because what we're doing is we're gathering here today and marking this transition through ritual, through prayer, which is the modern form of sacrificing a bull. And I'll just say that this thing about the sort of mythical nature of this creature that had its horns before its hooves, I think maybe there's something to say about that as well. That in a way, it's kind of this myth that there's only one setting, day or night, right? That for Adam, he was under the mythical incorrect assumption that the sun was setting and life was over. And when he realized that the sun rises on a new day, he sacrifices this myth. He absolves himself of this incorrect assumption or this mythical belief. So I wonder, as we move into Yom HaAtzmaut and we commemorate Ma'avar, how we can avail ourselves of any mythical notion that life is only ever one or the other, and instead learn to live with the both and the all. So I just want to open now with a minute or two we have left to any reactions or comments to the text or anything that I've brought today. I see a hand. Brett? Or maybe that's for something else. All right. Well,
it was a mistake. It was a mistake. I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem at all. All right. Well, thank you so much for learning with me today. It was really lovely to study with you. And we will continue on with our program. Let me find the order of events.
I'm next, Josh.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm going to thank you for the transition there. I'm going to throw it over to David Kaplinski, who will lead us in song.
Hi, everyone. Happy to get the chance to sing. I'm a first-year Ziegler student. I just moved in to the LA about a month ago. So if you don't know me, nice to meet you, and I hope to see you in person soon, and also on various virtual events in the meantime. All right, so Leah's going to share some lyrics for us, so you can sing along.
Which song is first?
Niveta first. So feel free to sing along if you know the song, or hum along if you'd like as well. That's fine. There we go. We got that. Ani ve'ata nishane et ha'olam. Ani ve'ata az yavo kvar gulam. Amru et ze kodem levanai lo mishane. Ani ve'ata nishane. ננסה מההתחלה, יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם לבניי, לא משנה, לא משנה, אני מעתה נשנה. Time with the first verse. Ani ve'ata nishane et ha'olam. Ani ve'ata az yavo kvar kulam. Amru et ze kodem levanai lo mishane. Ani ve'ata נשנה את העולם. נשנה את העולם. And from that kind of mournful, beautiful song, I think the two songs are a great contrast because it really takes us from Yom HaZikaron into better days. And we hope just for us and for Israel that days continue to be better, that things continue to improve, and that we have the Israel and the world that we want to see. So this one's a little bit longer. Let me get that. אני מביט מהחלום וזה עושה לי די עצוב, האביב חלף אבל לא, מי יודע אם ישוב. הליצן היה למלך, הנביא נהיה ליצן, כששכתי את הדרך, אבל אני עוד כאן. Sorry, it changed keys on me. 1 second. I don't know how that happened, but just give me 1 second. It's gonna get better. That's the name of the song. So yeah, transposed up a key. Let's try it again. Okay. That's so weird to do that again. All right, I'll have to do it by heart. יהיה טוב, כן, לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה, הלילה, איתך אני נשאר. ילדים לובשים כנפיים, ועפים אל הצבא, ואחרי שנתיים הם חוזרים ללא תשובה. אנשים חיים במתח, מחפשים סיבה לנשום, ובאין שנאה לרצח מדברים על השלום. ויהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, כן. Back to the chorus. לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה, הלילה, איתך אני נשאר. עוד נלמד לחיות ביחד, בין חולשות עצי זיתים, ילדים יחיו בלי פחד, בלי גבורות בלי מלאכתים. על כפרים יפרח העשב, לשלום ואהבה, מהשנים של חרב, ועוד לא עבדה תקווה. ויהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, כן, לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה, הלילה, איתך אני נשאר. הנה בא נשיא מצרים, איך שמחתי לקראתו, פירמידות בעיניים, ושלום במקטעתו. ואמרנו בוא נשלימה, ונחיה כמו אחים. ואז הוא אמר קדימה, ורק תצאו בחשכים. ויהיה טוב, יהיה טוב, כן, לפעמים אני נשבר, אז הלילה, הלילה, איתך אני נשאר. אני מביט מהחלום, אולי יגיע יום חדש. figured it out. Chag Sameach, everybody. Chag Atzmaut Sameach.
Chag Sameach, everyone. I'm going to ask you all to rise if you're able to do so. And we're going to transition now from those beautiful songs to our anthem. I'll ask you to all sing with me, even though you will only hear my voice. Kol od balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi homiya, ulafate mizrach kadima, ayin letzion Sophia, Olov Tikvatenu, Hatikva bat shanot alpayim, liyotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, liyotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim.
Okay. Chag Sameach, everybody. Right now, we are going to hear from a beloved member of our community, and that is Vered Hopenstan, who I have asked, Vered and Dove, who I have asked to share a memory that brings them joy when they think of Israel. And I'm going to project a video silently that Vered has given to me to share, and she'll speak in the background. So just one moment. And just take note, feel free to put your own memories in the chat box around something regarding Israel that also brings you joy, so we can all share in your memories. And Vered, make sure you are unmuted. I will check.
Here we go. I want them to look for half a second on this video. It has a sound, but I asked not to have the sound so I can talk a little bit. That was taken, I want to say, a day ago in Israel. Just watch it for half a second, please. I hope it's clear. And Leah had asked me to talk for 1 minute about what makes me feel so proud about Israel. How can I condense all of it in 1 minute? But here I am going to say, I'll speak slowly so you will be also able to see what's in the background. When I see the flag of Israel, it always fills my heart with pride and joy. Today, we celebrate Israel's 73rd birthday. It is also a celebration of achievements and prosperity of this small country. Israel has advanced in technology, in medicine, in water solution, and in more. The disk key, for example, or better known in English, USB, was invented in Israel in 1999. Don't forget the Waze navigation application. And all 12 Israeli Nobel Prize winners. Also, NASA also is using Israeli technology to send information from Mars to Earth. And maybe the biggest achievement is the revival of Hebrew language and turn it into a vivid modern language. And I'm not biased because I love Hebrew language and I teach the language. Something interesting that I found among all those innovation technology is, and that brought some, laughter on our lips, is that the glue, did you know that the glue of Israel's postage stamps is kosher? It is an Israeli invention, sort of speak. And did you know that on Israeli bills, the money, they made it special for blind people to be able to use the money just by touching it. In the video that you saw, and you don't see it now, we can see the Israeli Air Force all in its glory. And Tzahal soldiers who defend us since 1948 through wars and challenging time. Tzahal will defend soldiers no matter where they are in the world. And for that, we all salute them today. I arrived in Israel in 1950 with my parents and my sister. It was winter and it was cold, and we were sent to tents. We lived in a transition camp called Ma'abara. We're not hungry, never hungry, as we had always bread, oranges, and olives, but not much more than that. The food was ration food with coupons. And when I think today, 70 some years later, what do I say? What words can I say? Is pride, proud, kol hakavod enough? I salute it. Salute the flag, salute the country. We love you.
Okay. All right. Now we will conclude with Ma'ariv. Thank you, Vered and Dov.
Joanna, will you please unmute? Are you still there? Unmute and lead Mariv. Joanna, are you there? She's in Toronto. She may have. Oh, there you are.
Yes, I'm here. I just couldn't unmute, but now I have permission, so we're good.
Okay. Mariv begins on page 200 in Sim Shalom, 137 in Slim Shalom.
והורח ומכפר עוון ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיב אפו ולא יאיר כל חמתו. אדוני הושיע מלך יעננו ויום קוראנו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
Amen.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עולמך אהבת. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Amen.
אל מלך נאמן, שמע ישראל, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם בבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת ואמונה כל זאת. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו עליהם, משה ובני ישראל לכהנו שירה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורתי לא תוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. Page 206 in Sim Shalom, 140 in Slim Shalom.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ושלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, שומר עמו ישראל לעד.
Amen.
ברוך אדוני לעולם, אמן ואמן. ברוך אדוני ציון שופט ירושלים, הללויה. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד, כי אין לנו מלך אלא אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, המלך בכבודו תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ועל כל מעשיו.
Amen. The quiet Amidah begins on page 210 in Slim Shalom, 142 in Slim Shalom. Please remember to add Al Hanisim Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Please feel free to continue to daven at your own pace, but we'll sing Oseh Shalom together. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. We all had the opportunity to say the Al Hanisim prayer in our silent Amidah, but I'd like to say it publicly for us all one more time. If you'd like to follow along or recite with me, it's on page 147.
218 in Sim Shalom.
Thank you, thank you. I'll start by singing with a familiar tune and then I'll recite the rest. Al hanisim ve'al hapurkan ve'al hagvurot ve'al hatshuot ve'al hamilchamot she'asita lavotenu bayamim hahem b'zman hazeh. B'yimei shivat banim higulam be'et kumat am ve'artzo kimei kedem nizkiru sharei eretz avot bifnei achenu plitei charev ve'oivim ba'aretz b'shiv'a amamim ba'alei britam kamu l'hachrit amcha Yisrael ve'ata b'rachamecha harabim amanat lahem be'et zaratam rafta et rivam danta et dinam chizakta et libam la'amod bashar ve'liftoach she'arim la'nirdathim ugaresh et tzivot ha'oyev min ha'aretz Ma'asarta rabim biad me'atim u'rsha'im biad tzadikim u'lecha asita shem gadol v'kadosh be'olamecha u'amcha Yisrael asita teshua gdola u'furkan kehayom hazeh. In English, we thank you for the miraculous deliverance, for the heroism, and for the triumphs of our ancestors from ancient days until our time. In the days when your children were returning to their borders, at the time when our people took root in its land, as in days of old, the gates to the land of our ancestors were closed before those who were fleeing the sword. When enemies from within the land, together with 7 neighboring nations, sought to annihilate your people, you, in your great mercy, stood by them in time of trouble. You defended them and vindicated them. You gave them courage to meet their foes, to open the gates to those seeking refuge, and to free the land of its armed invaders. You delivered the many into the hands of the few, the guilty into the hands of the innocent. You have revealed your glory and your holiness to all the world, achieving great victories and miraculous deliverance for your people Israel to this day. I want to invite Diane now to please read the prayer for the state of Israel, which can be found on page 75. Although, Mike, maybe you could help with the other page number if you don't mind. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, 416 in Sim Shalom.
Okay, 75 in Slim Shalom. Please join me. Avinu shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'goalo, barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit tzmichat kulatenu, hagen aleha be'avrat chasdecha, ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rasheha soreha v'yotzeha, v'taknem be'etzat tova milfanecha. Chazek et yidei mignei eretz kodshenu, Vanchilem Eloheinu Yeshua v'yateret nitzachon teatrem v'natata shalom ba'aretz v'silchat olam yoshbeha v'nomar Amen. Avinu shebashamayim, Rock and Redeemer of the people Israel, bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend the Holy Land. Deliver them. crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Aleinu is on page 224 in Sim Shalom, 150 in Slim Shalom.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולמיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Mourner's Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבם.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובימיכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Ul'olmei Almaya.
יהי שמי רבא מברך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשא בריחו.
Barichu.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Erev Tov, everybody. Yisher Koach to Benjamin and to Joanna for davening, and to Diane, Larry, Ruvain, Aaron, Josh, Rachel, David, Dov, and Vered for a very beautiful and meaningful of our ceremony, and especially to Leo Mandelbaum for curating the entire program. We daven tomorrow morning at 7:15, tomorrow evening 7 o'clock. This evening, when 3 stars are out, which is probably another 10 or 15 minutes, and you count the Omer, remember that this day has been day number 17. And Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach, everybody.